Welcome back to My Trauma's Chronic, but I'm Iconic. This is a space for honest conversations where stories of resilience, community, and change take center stage. Today, we're going to talk about mental health, equity, and empowerment because every voice matters and every story deserves to be heard. Today's episode is about more than a discussion. It's about learning from each other and finding hope in our shared experiences. So settle in, open your heart, and join us in this journey. So let's get started. What's one thing most people don't know about you, but you're happy to share with our listeners?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I wanted to do drama. I don't know if people know that, but that's something that I wanted to do when I was like 16. I really wanted to do like write my own play, probably act in my own play and produce my own play. I think that's still something I would like to do now.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I'd love to be able to create something. I'm not sure what the storyline will be, but something that I can yeah, write, produce, and act.
Yeah. I feel like that's also a very girl boss move as well.
Yeah, it's
Or
like a
like,
tick.
yeah,
I've done it.
yeah, like got the t-shirt as well. Like, I feel like it's also like I'm like gathering this from what you just said.
Mhm.
But I feel like we're same when we come it comes to our work or personal life. Like you like to be like correct me if I'm wrong, but like to be involved every step along the way.
Mm, yeah, I'm, yes, I think I am, yes, I am flowy as well. So I don't know, I'm still, I'm learning to appreciate structure, but flexibility within structure as well. I think that's something I'm trying to embody and live by. Like having a routine is good. I think it helps me, it might help some people having a bit of a structure, but then within that having flexibility so you can still do things in your own way. So yeah.
Yeah. It's that like I don't know if I'm using this term right, but synergy.
Yeah.
But like I have both, but I have it in a one or the other way.
Okay.
Like my autism will be like structure, structure, structure.
Yeah.
It's planned out like tomorrow. Like I said, it's planned down to a minute. Like all the preparations, da da da.
Yeah.
But I might just go in tomorrow and be like, you know what? I'm gonna do this first, and then this. I might wait 3 hours before to get started. I know my autism won't allow it, but my ADHD might be like, ooh, risk.
Yeah. But there is, I don't know what it is. Maybe from like a place of there is safety in structure. And I
Mm,
think that's the thing. If it provides a bit of safety and you have it as a starting point, then you change it. That's also okay. But maybe
yeah,
when you're starting something, for me, sometimes I'm like, oh, I should have a bit of structure because it will help me. And
yeah,
sometimes I don't have any structure and
yeah,
I'm comfortable with that. But maybe someone else, I don't know, if I'm working with somebody, maybe someone else I'm working with might not like that free
mm,
flowing nature. So I guess I've learned to adapt to different people that I'm with and around.
yeah. A
Um,
chameleon, chameleon.
yeah, yeah. I've seen one actually in
Really?
yeah, in Mexico. Sorry, you said that. An image was like transported into my mind.
Oh my God! And I love that it like goes with your green top, like the thought chameleon.
Mm. Oh yeah, it
Like,
does. They're really cool. Chameleons are actually really cool. I was like staring at it in Mexico. I was like walking down. We were staying in like a golf place, and there was like a massive long walk. And I just remember just like seeing a chameleon and just standing there. I've never seen one before. And then it was just like camouflaging every time it moved into different spaces. It was really cool. So
you
yeah, I
know what?
can connect.
It's I was thinking this was like some sort of like like animal park, like how people go to donkey sanctuaries and stuff. So I thought it was like just like if I saw a chameleon, I think I would be like, am I hallucinating? Like,
Yeah, It
Like,
feels
what's
like that because it's changing. Like all the colors change, and it's like, I guess for anyone that's watching, it feels, yeah, very surreal. But for the chameleon, it's living its life. So I think that's a really nice analogy, actually. I feel like sometimes I am this is really getting into it, right? I feel
yeah,
like I am a chameleon in that sense where I do camouflage and I can mold into
yeah,
places, people, cultures. I'm also a freelancer, so I do work across different organizations and adapt different ways of working, adapt different structures of how organizations might deliver work.
yeah.
I've never thought about that. That might actually be a part of my introduction
For
going
me,
forward.
professional
I'm a
chameleon.
chameleon.
It's I feel like there's a lot of the time it's like when you're a chameleon and you're doing so many different things.
Mm.
It's for a chameleon it's okay. For us, like do you get like overwhelmed? Like I like this is so many different parts.
Yeah.
Like I can't keep up. Like do you ever be like, you know what? Fuck it. Like I'm
Oh
just going
yeah.
to do my own thing.
Yeah, you have to call it. I think there's sometimes when, especially when you've got different, so I do freelance. So I work across different projects. Some of the projects are really stimulating in terms
Yeah,
of people. I might be delivering a piece of work. I might be facilitating groups. I might be out in the community, delivering community engagement projects. So I'm with people, it's active. And then some of my projects are more at home and they're more cognitive. You're using your brain a bit more. It's more planning. It might be more research,
yeah,
evaluation. I'm an evaluator as well. And then I think to switch between like an active day to then the next day to maybe data analysis, there is an adjusting period that I would have to do. And sometimes you just have to call it. Sometimes it's a day where I'm like, you know what, I will finish this off later on or do it in the morning when I'm more productive or more fresh. You just have to, like, yeah, you've got to mold and change according to how you feel, and it's okay to change. Sometimes I would really push through something, even if I'm struggling. But
yeah,
through experience, through life, through time, I've discovered sometimes it's more productive to take a break and then you go back to the piece of task or the work that you were doing before. Um, yeah, and it changes all the time. So it's a really interesting part. And finding your flow, if that
yeah,
makes sense. Sometimes you might be able to hyper focus. For me, I can go into hyper focus and I've done everything and I'm like, wow. And then other days it might take me a long time to get started, to get that hyper focus and get really into the flow. It takes a bit more time and more intention.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
I don't know about you, but I get this moments, like not moments, but like periods of hyper focus, and
Hmm.
then my ADHD is probably going on to something else,
Hmm.
and then it's like, but I'm focused on finishing this task, but I'm not hyper focused anymore. But I'm focused on finishing the task, but my mind is distracted. I'm trying to
Hmm.
pull myself back. I want to get it done. Do you ever get those moments?
Yeah, I do. And some things are not stimulating for us. Like some tasks are they're not stimulating for the brain. So it is like you're pushing yourself forward to get that done. You're like, I have to get this email sent or I have to do this, whatever it is, like especially like admin or more kind of just like things that you have to
Yeah,
tick off your to-do list. Um, yeah, coffee helps sometimes. It's I think one thing I've discovered is I haven't been diagnosed, but I am I am certain that I'm dyslexic. I haven't gone through a formal diagnosis, but one thing I've discovered about myself is I'm able to connect ideas. This is probably why it works when I'm a freelancer and I'm doing in different projects and
mhm,
maybe working in different sectors. But and I'm also able to, but some of the tasks that are more, yeah, just more cognitively mundane, they're the
yeah.
ones that you have to like gear yourself up to complete.
You have
And
to
yeah,
prepare for the night before, like
yeah,
Yeah, tomorrow I have to do this. Yay.
But I think I also think it depends on the type of work that you've been doing. So for example, my work has been more around trauma and supporting people with trauma. So I think sometimes if we're thinking about it, we can maybe explore, is this something that's more from a neurodivergent lens, or are we really saying, are we burnt out as practitioners, as people that do the work and that are sometimes carrying a lot of the trauma and emotions that we carry in terms of the work that we do. So I think, for example, when I was doing more, I'm not doing so much at the moment. I've moved away from direct trauma work. I still deliver workshops, but in terms of I guess having casework or working with someone for a long period of time, I'm not doing that in the formal way. I still mentor some of the guys I've worked with before. I still do parts of community facing work or practitioner work, but I remember some of the work that I've done before. It's yeah, it sometimes I come home really exhausted. Energetically, I have very little energy, and then to try and get yourself up and ready to do, your own life admin, forget the work admin, your own life admin of things that you need to complete for yourself. Yeah, there's definitely moments as a practitioner, if I've dealt with something that was really difficult on the day, maybe it was safeguarding, and or I was just in a very just chaotic environment. I've worked in prisons as well. Sometimes I'd leave a prison and I'd probably have to just walk for a bit just to kind of disconnect from where I was to where I'm going before I get home.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely lots of for people that are doing this work, if they're in a front, practitioner work, sometimes it's also the work that can physically your body is tired because of the work that you're doing and the levels of emotions that you carry physically as well. So yeah, there's a bit of both, I think. So yeah, it's interesting to really explore what what is making us tired, or
Yeah.
is it just that we're switching between different tasks? One is more stimulating. Is it the way that we process information? I know that I process information in a different way. I yeah, it's like asking ourselves all these reflective questions to really, yeah, find out what it is. And a lot of practitioners are burnt out, and I think that's one thing that I would say is so much, a lot of us are in the kind of grind culture. We're going and going and going. We haven't spent time to like slow down.
Oh,
And sometimes it's a slowing down that makes it difficult because work can also be a protective factor, right? Going to work, the structure of work, the even the boring tasks of work gives people the stability. So sometimes if you take away that structure, the framework, I guess the framework of going to work, yeah,
yeah.
we might have to sit with our own emotions, and that's the difficult part.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah.
Like, I know so many people, like, as soon as they go on annual leave, they're ill. It's because their
Yeah,
body's like, what are you doing?
yeah.
Why are we not working or getting our stress as much or doing whatever? And they get ill. But they miraculously get better as soon as it's near the time or
Mhm.
near the end of their annual leave. Because
Yeah.
your body's already getting like up and ready for it.
Hmm.
And I've always just seen it and I'm like, it's like, the body does keep score and is
Yeah.
so confident. And I'm like, it's what, as a chief, like doing a chief executive role,
Hmm.
it's it it's I feel like since like we hit our 1 year mark and
Yeah.
before, what I'm like, yeah, when we hit our 1 year mark, I was getting realization, but it wasn't just like two and two wasn't getting put together by me because I couldn't understand it. But I was like, I'm getting exhausted. I'm getting burnt out every day. Usually
Yeah.
burnt happens like every few weeks or every few months or every, yeah, I don't know. Like it depends person to person, but
Yeah.
and I'm getting burnt out every day to the point where I'm cancelling meetings.
Hmm.
I I can't do anything. Even taking my medication is effort. And my medication's
Mm,
always right next to me. Like it's in like those little, those pre things already done. I already do it
yeah,
already. It's just there, and all I need to do is put it in my mouth. That is
yeah,
effort.
yeah.
And I'm like, and it's like, I feel like it's a lot of the time. It's like when you don't stability, like you said, plays a
Hmm.
massive factor. Like I feel like once I got into the 1 year mark or near
Hmm.
it, I was like, you know what? I have an amazing staff team.
Yeah.
I, we're doing okay. Like we have recognition.
Hmm.
We have people who are willing to work with us.
Hmm.
It's, I can take a step back. Like it's not even taking a step back. I can breathe. Like I don't have to be
Yeah.
like, do you know people who micromanage their employees?
Hmm.
I don't do that. I don't think I do that. Nobody's
Good.
told me that.
Thank you. Thank you for not doing that because it's harmful.
But I micromanage myself.
Okay. I mean, is do you, but maybe the question is, do you micromanage or do you create goals and achieve them or reevaluate the goals that you've set for yourself? Because
I I feel
no?
like there's a spectrum. I
Mm,
feel like you can do like in the middle it's like doing that, and then you
hmm.
can either go far from it or you can be really, really intense about it. And I
Yeah,
feel like
that is true.
because I feel like I keep bringing up my autism, and somebody is probably going to comment or message me directly, be like, "Oh, you bring up your autism a lot." Well, my brain is autistic. It's how my
Yeah.
brain is. Like, I can't tell you. Like with your dyslexia, you might like bring it up, like with people you're working with or your personal life. It's your brain is the way it is. Like,
Yeah. And
sorry, I
it's
can't have a brain transplant. Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's like just taking that step back is a big deal.
Mhm.
And to be able to manage to do that in a way that's manageable,
Mhm.
and it's like making small steps, like I'm only allowed to work one day, like one weekend, one day, like a Saturday, Sunday, one day for the whole month. Can't work every weekend, just one
Good.
day. And then I'm like, and then I've given myself 10 annual leave days per month.
Okay.
Like it's like
Yeah.
these, and then you can go to bigger steps. That's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say. And it's like I know that I can't limit how much I work because I'm like,
Mm.
yes, all the people like in my personal life who are listening to this, they're like, really now? Like we've been telling, and I'm like, it's like taking those steps. And I
Mhm.
work 16-hour days, even if I take 10 days off, 16 hours, 7 days a week. And even if I take 1 day off or 2 days off,
Yeah.
or even 10, I'm still working more hours than 8-hour days if
Oh
I did
yeah.
that. And people
Yeah.
don't understand. And it's your baby. Like your baby, you can't just people don't
Yeah.
you shouldn't go neglecting your actual like human baby. And this is
So
like
it's different. Yeah. So maybe my question to you is I really understand and I connect with you on that. For when it's your own project, when it's your own company, it's your own organization, you've birthed this baby and
yeah.
you've got to nurture it and care for it. Um, would you do the 16-hour days and the weekends if it was a job?
If I believed in the values and ethos, like
Okay,
ethos and
interesting.
for me that like it's the impact of the work.
Hmm.
That I've been like commissioned by a local authority to do a piece of work recently. I got
Okay.
commissioned 10 hours to do it. I did 8 extra hours because I know that this project is going to change the way that professionals think, therefore changing the lives of young people and children that they work with. And for
Yeah.
me, I know how important that is as a care leaver, as a
Yeah.
former local child. Its impact. I think, like, if I did not need to pay bills and lawyers and all those
Oh
sort of
yeah.
things, I'll be content with impact.
Mm. Yeah.
Actually. at the same time, my shopping addiction.
But there's a fair balance because I understand that and I connect to that. I've done work for free. I've delivered workshop or I've supported people for free. And when you do projects, especially in the third sector, charity sector, you do go, not everyone does this, but if you care about the work, you do go above and beyond, and that's what happens. But at the same time, I think for me, and this is probably where I'm trying to slowly establish boundaries, is if you continue to do that, what happens is there's an inequity that would happen in terms of, you've given extra 8 hours. If you did that for every local authority, and that, there's lots of local authorities,
Yeah.
that that would mean, I don't know, if you did that for 10 local authorities, that would be 80 hours of free labor. So
Mm.
what we're doing is really, in the grand scheme of things, from a systemic lens, what we're doing is maintaining the inequality in terms of financial inequality, and also the fact that, lived experience, there is a lot of exploitation that happens with people with lived experience. There's an expectation that because you come from a place of lived experience, you do really care about the topics, the subjects, the experiences of people that you're working with. But because of that, you will then do extra labor, you will do extra time, but a different consultant or a different person wouldn't offer that. So I understand, and this is probably
Yeah.
like a decade of thinking for me in terms of trying to establish boundary, and then add the layer of, um being, if you're for example, me, if I'm a black woman, add the layer of race, add the layer of gender, add the layer of divergent, um so all of these things are kind of your intersectionality. What happens is, from a financial lens, you would not receive the income that you would if you wasn't,
Yeah.
in embodying that as well. And sometimes there's a balance. Of course, I still do things and I still go above and beyond because I care about projects around young people, mental health.
Mm.
Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's still that balance that we all need to maintain. Otherwise, what we're doing is just consistently enabling systemic structures to oppress people,
Yeah.
and actually financially we lose out.
You know what? I've thought about it systemically, but I never thought about it financially.
Mm.
And it links together. And
Hmm.
it's like, but you know what? I feel like it can be one or the other way. If a local authority is not putting in the work, I will literally clock in. If let's just say it's a 9 to 5 day and it's one day that you want me to come in, I'll
Yeah,
clock in at 9 and clock in at 5.
yeah,
I mean, but like, if you're not putting the effort in,
yeah.
there's not really a point in me going above and beyond.
Mm. It's really interesting. It's especially when you're freelance or when you're being commissioned, there's so much. I'll give you an example. I've attended workshops and spaces where people speak about pay openly, and it's
Mm.
been really interesting to see the pay that maybe the just the gap of pay. So for example, a range of people, for let's say they're facilitators or they're youth workers or they're freelance, they're offering freelance services. The gap between the lowest pay and the highest pay is like at least 1,000 or £2,000 sometimes. And you're sitting in the room thinking, that is a massive gap. I wonder who would be charging the lower end, and I wonder who can charge the higher end, and what does that look like in practice, and how does that then impact, yeah, communities from a wider lens, actually, in terms of when we speak about equity, we're really thinking about equity financially as well. And I think, yes, we can speak about how we feel in organizations, the impact, the
Yeah.
kind of the value, our values being in line with organizations' values. All of those things are really important. The culture, massive again. What does the workplace culture look like and feel like? And yeah, all of those things are really important. But the finance is, there's still a gender pay gap. there's a disability pay gap. If you look at the statistics around disability and who receives income, we're
Mm.
really seeing massive race, ethnicity pay gap. We've kind of seen all these statistics. So yeah, we've got to, I guess, ourselves in the room, myself and you, I'm inviting you into this, is we have to be reflective around, yeah, how much do we provide in terms of how much of our going above and beyond is coming from our own, coming from a systemic lens around having to overperform as well, having to do extra to be
Be valued
seen and
the same.
valued. Yeah. Um,
You know what? And it's like, and I like often find like they say that women earn 71 pence to the pound,
mhm.
but that's like white women to
Yeah,
men.
yeah.
And it's like I think it's like I don't know about Asians, but I know for last time I checked for black women it was 53 pence to the pound.
Hmm.
That's like that's it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what does race have to do with anything? I feel like it's like disabilities. Like I'm gonna touch on this because you know what? With my autism, I find it hard to be like, like think about like the effects of what I say long term,
Yeah.
but do I really care? Like, for example, let's just talk about disabilities. I feel like
Yeah.
that's you know we're having common as well as being people from minority ethnic backgrounds.
Yeah.
But a 2019 clip resurfaced,
Hmm.
um, which got my LinkedIn banned for like nearly 24 hours because I brought it up. A Tory MP said people with learning disabilities
Hmm.
cannot manage their money properly, so they should be
Mm.
paid less.
Wow.
Strong statement as well. And I'm like, I and then I saw it in TikTok as well, and I love the comment section. A girl was like, "I'm autistic, and the only thing I know about the money that I earn is I don't get paid enough."
Of course,
Yeah,
100%.
and I'm
That is
like,
appalling. Yeah.
what makes you think? Because I like there's an article on my LinkedIn. It's still up.
Okay.
People can find their name through that. But like, how can you make a statement that strongly? And I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, there are people, who do not have the capacity to
Hmm.
manage money. So they will have the
Hmm.
local authorities or their family members or whatever. But you need to go through a court to do that. You can't just be like, oh my God, we're in a place of power, so we're going to do
Yeah.
this.
And I think it's for me, this from the whole I didn't know that actually. So this is new information for me. But
I'll send you
from
the link.
the comment, I don't remember. Maybe my memory's not that. I don't retain information. So if it's a couple of years ago, I might not remember. But from what he said, the most harmful thing that he said is they don't know how to manage their money, so they should be paid less. How does that make sense? If they don't know how to manage their money properly, that means there's support that could be put in place. There's coaches that can support with budgeting, and there's things that could be, these are more skills around supporting people rather than saying that they should get paid less, which does not even make sense. That's two
Yeah,
different.
like they can be like, and then and I feel like a disability is people with disabilities is a minority within a minority. I feel
Hmm.
like, and I
Hmm.
feel like, but they could be like, and they're very selective because they know the repercussions are not
Yeah.
going to be big as if they used an ethnicity or a race or a group of people, or like a racial or marginalized group. If they
Mm,
said Black, Asian, and minority ethnic people deserve to be paid less because they're not born in the UK,
mm,
because they love to just assume that everybody from that background is not born in the UK,
yeah.
so it should be paid less because they're not from the country. I'm like, it's like we're all living in the same country,
Yeah.
and I'm like, if this is an argument that I have, is like if people do have learning difficulties and learning disabilities or additional needs or any sort of disability, not
Mhm.
limited to learning disabilities, shouldn't they be paid more because it's more expensive because there's a
Yeah.
disability tax?
Yeah. Yeah. It's more expensive to have the needs and to have your needs met and to live, to have specific things. There might be additional things that they need. So really, this is when we speak about actually the intersectionality and who would the systems and structures that are in place are not they're not serving us as a whole. Then
They're serving
there's a lot
themselves.
of yeah, there's like 14 million people that are I'm not sure if it's registered disability, but there is 14 million people disabled people in the UK. So that's 1 in 5 people would have a disability that they're living with um in all the different capacities as well. So it's just a really interesting. I was in a workshop actually, and somebody said to me, disability is one area where people can get away with not actioning because it takes, and that this is more around physical disability and actually adjustments in terms of workplaces and everyday kind of infrastructures. And the comment was that's one area that people can find a way of not actually implementing because it costs money to infrastructurally change things. It costs
Yeah.
money to have an adjustable table, for example, in a workplace. Things like that would make a massive difference for somebody on a day to day. Yeah, there's like and it would help everyone. And I think that's the concept. Sometimes people think, oh, if we change the infrastructure or the space, we're only going to be supporting this many people. But actually, what you end up doing is supporting so many other people within that might need those adjustments.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it breaks my heart, honestly. It's not it is a yeah, there's a massive neglect around the needs of people and things that would make everyone's life easier on a day to day if it
Yeah.
was resourced and if it was upheld and implemented.
And I just rolled my eyes when you were speaking because I was like, a lot of employers will use that as a reason not to employ people. They're not allowed to, but they will.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
and it's like, and people are like, well, they like. There's some people that'll be like, oh, they don't, they don't. People are not allowed to murder people, but they go murdering people anyway. Like,
Mm.
and I'm just like, and I'm rolling my eyes because everything I feel like to do with support is always gatekept. It's
Yeah.
never publicized. It's never like
Yeah.
marketed. So how are the
Yes.
people supposed to know? Like, for example, there's one of my friends. I had to refer her and send her documents about access to work and PIP because she
Mm.
needs that support and nobody's telling her that support. She
Yeah.
has mental health teams involved, like I think maybe even social services. Nobody's telling her that. What's the point of you
Mm.
being there if you're not going to tell people about the support they're receiving? You're a nine to
Mm.
five thing, but this disability is affecting her or anybody with disabilities 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah. There is that. You're right. I think anything around, I'm not sure what it is, to be honest. There's definitely, so I'll give an example. When I'm walking and doing more of the community engagement work, I speak to people day to day in parks and public spaces, libraries, on the street, in anywhere really, anywhere public. And the topics could be different. They will be on different projects will have different questions. But a lot of the time, you know, I do spend signposting people. And I think because I've come from a practitioner lens, even though my role is, to do a survey, really capture people's feedback about a specific topic, what I do, people normally feel comfortable at that point to say something's happening with their housing or something's happening with their immigration or they're experiencing violence. There's so many layers and people's stories that come up on a very quick interaction with a
Mm.
stranger in the middle of the street. And there's so much, like, sometimes very simple things that they should have knowledge of, they should be aware of, like you were saying, around what benefits they can access, what support they can get for different things. But it's not always either it's not accessible, or
Yeah.
it's not available for them in the way that they might process information.
Hmm. You know, the thing about, let's go back to something that, impacts everybody. So listeners, who might be like, people with disabilities get being needy or whatever. And I'm like, the only, or like being like, oh, they're not receiving any support, but they're getting free money, they're getting this. The only, like,
Mhm.
during the pandemic, during COVID, during that, the only reason why furlough was advertised and
Mhm.
marketed so much, so that other countries can look better to other countries and their citizens. It's not like whoever invented vaccines, they'll be like, oh, this is, let's just say the vaccine was invented in the UK, and they'll be like, this is a UK vaccine invented by a British da da da. Like, it's just to show up, and it's like, oh, we're doing this, we look better, da da da.
Mhm.
But if it's sort of to do with their own people and it's not a global issue, it's gonna be
Mhm.
hidden. Nobody's going to
Mhm.
talk about it, and you
Yeah.
and people don't realize how desperate. Like, I don't mean desperate as in a very derogatory or like looking down sort of way, but
Mhm.
desperate you are to tell your life circumstances to an absolute stranger who's just doing a survey.
Mm. Yeah.
Such personal details, because you're like, at this point, I've gone. They're probably like thinking I've gone to X, Y, and Z people.
Yep.
I've gone to all these people, they're not helping. I went to other people, I went to people that people recommended.
Yeah.
Nobody can help me. Maybe this person could. I don't know.
Yeah.
But my situations are that dire that I'm
Yeah.
willing to take the chance.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it's yeah, there's definitely, and I think this is where when people say communities are hard to reach, we can't reach these people, whatever the demographic or intersectional identity of the people are. I honestly don't think it's not necessarily that the services are or the people are hard to reach. It's really the services are hard to reach. We're creating structures and we expect people to come in the same way. That's why I think, for example, outreach works in terms of community projects, in terms of youth, open provision youth centres, and open access youth work works because they go to where the kids are at, and they go to where the young people are at. So you're going to where they are rather than expecting people to come to you as services.
Mm.
Um, yeah, there's a lot. There is a lot of it's interesting. I think I'm
Barriers.
curious to find out from you, what do you do to create spaces for people that are disabled, for people that are neurodivergent, like just from your own experience of
Organization.
yeah, from like your own, because I
So
think that would be really important for anyone that's either in an organization now as an employee, or setting up an organization, or freelancers that get to see a bit more of a few different organizations. They get an insight from different places. Yeah, anything that what would you say is best practice for an employer when you're creating workplace culture?
if I could only pick one rule, that would be bespoke.
Yeah. Mm,
Be bespoke. That's
yeah.
what I'd call be honest. I feel
Mm.
like, and the thing is, I understand why people don't have to be. Well, are we talking about people as in like employees, or are we talking about people that we work with? Because I can do both. I could do one or the other.
More employees. Like if you have a organization, you've got your employees. What do you think helps to maintain the workplace culture that's more inclusive for people?
I prioritize my employees' well-being over work,
Mm, that's really
and
important.
I'm like, okay, and that, like, for example, like, it's it's amazing. Like, I'll be like, you know what? I even tell them in the interview, if I feel like, you know what, this person's going to get an acceptance letter by the end of the
Mhm.
day, I'm I'm will say, you know what? if you do join our organization, if you don't want to work that day, that's absolutely fine. Like our volunteers, we have a minimum of, depending on the role, we have from 6 hours to 10 hours per week.
Okay.
Is a minimum, and it makes it sound like you have to work a minimum of 10. If you don't work that week, do I care? No, not really. As long as you're okay, you're looking after yourself,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
fine. Like, how am I, like, and it's, I know it works because they put 10 times more work, 10
Mm,
times more effort.
yeah.
And, when their mental health is suffering, they'll be like, they call me up or they text me and be like, Roismi, I can't do this. Like, I need support.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, okay, let's have a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
What support do you need? What
Mm-hmm.
can I do? What do you want from your members of your team?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do? Like, and I don't just check up on when they're working.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I just message people randomly and be like, how are you doing?
Mm.
And I make an effort to reply back to my employees within 10 minutes of receiving a message.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, I need you to know that I'm there for you. If I'm unable, let's just say it's like a paragraph long message. If I'm unable to reply back to that message right there and then in depth, I'll be like, I'm in a meeting. My meeting finishes at this time. I replied to it to them. If I don't reply back to you in a certain time, text me. I'll give them a time frame. And I
Mm-hmm.
do this because I'm like, it's important for my staff to know that their well-being is a priority of mine,
Mm.
and the work is not important.
Yeah.
The work can be done again, or I can reallocate it to someone. But me
Mm-hmm.
reallocating it, and my staff know, if I reallocate a task, doesn't mean that you're incompetent, doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you're less than, and the person that reallocated is much better than you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there is a dynamic imbalance, or like I'm seen as more senior, and the staff might feel like they're less than, or they have to look up to me, or there is a power dynamic
Yeah.
difference. But they know that because I'm a chief executive
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that your problem are your problems. It's
Mm-hmm.
our problem
Yeah.
because it affects my organization. It affects my staff,
Yeah.
which is you. So yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what we do, and I feel like we're just bespoke. And I can't be an organization that provides bespoke support to people outside of my organization if I do not provide that to my staff to start off with.
Mm-hmm. And that's really important. I think for me, again, just for my in terms of where I'm at the moment. So I've got it's myself and my co-founder Shauna. So we both work around this sector, these conversations around equity, diversity, and inclusion. And we're going into different spaces, different organizations to have these honest conversations. But what you said there for me hit the nail on the head because it is bespoke. Everyone's needs are different. You're right. People have different needs. But I think the fact that you implement well-being, a lot of organizations will say that we look after our staff. But if we did a survey or we did anonymous conversations, you would find out that actually a lot of people in terms of workplace culture and spaces are struggling with their mental health, are really struggling. They might be neurodivergent. They've never disclosed that to a work in a work context or to an employer. And there's so many barriers, and there might be things that they are experiencing that they haven't necessarily received support in. But do you, and from coming from a leadership lens, you create that honest conversation with your staff. You create that space. You really practice what you preach around well-being for yourself and for others. And I think that's so important for anyone that's interested around leadership and creating a healthy, inclusive workplace. Those are the things that actually make a difference to people on a day to day. So yeah, that's amazing.
And I feel like people, I'm not entitled to know everything about my employees.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like certain employers think that you need to know everything, but you're doing it in personal life. If you want to share, I'm like, I will, you know, engage in a conversation to you about your personal life or whatever. But I'm not gonna be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, so you're not working on Saturday? Why is that? And I don't
Mm-hmm.
expect any of my employees to work on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even expect them to work throughout the week. I expect them when they're able to be able to
Mm-hmm.
produce work, and that ensures the work that they produce is high quality and done in the right headspace.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find like the quality of work that you do when you're
Mm-hmm.
when you are like stressed or like upset or something is not as best as when you're in a regulated place?
Oh, if we're being really honest, of course. But I think for me personally, I have learned, and this is probably a learned behavior if I'm being really honest, I have learned to, again, coming back to the conversation about work sometimes being the protective factor or the something that might ground you. Sometimes if what I'm dealing with is massive, whatever that might be, it might be things that are going on in my personal life. Um, Sometimes work has been the distraction that I needed to
Mm,
just switch off from whatever I'm thinking about. But again, depending on the type of work and what I'm doing, the
yeah,
quality might not be at, or the maybe the length of time might be longer than if I was grounded to do that piece of work.
yeah.
Um, but yeah,
And
that's one thing I think, yeah, is
what's it?
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
it's one thing that I think is definitely um and sometimes you're not able to. And I think I've, for example, as an employee, so before I went freelance about 5 years ago now, I can probably count in the last 10, 15 years how many sick days I took. And that's not because I've never been sick. That's because for some reason I've never taken, and I've been thinking about this for a while actually. Why didn't I feel that I could take sick days when I was physically sick? And I
yeah,
would push my body and go forward and go forward. Or,
and make yourself
there's,
sick.
yeah, 100%. So I think and I think that also comes from, again, if we're thinking about just intersectionality, I'm a Black woman in the context of work. So you feel like you have to prove to your manager if you're sick, like how, and sometimes you can't prove these things. Sometimes it might be like, it might be a flu. Okay, maybe flu's a bit more visible because you can hear if your voices, but sometimes it's not, and sometimes it might be painful menstruation, for example, and periods. People have different pain thresholds for different things. Sometimes it might be something that you've eaten or any other kind of long-term chronic pain. Any of those things are so difficult to, or people actually need mental health days to call your manager and say, I'm taking the day off for X, Y, and Z. If you're a person of color, if you're Black, if you're disabled, neurodivergent, all of these kind of layers, it makes it more difficult because you already feel like you have to keep going and you always have to produce in that space. So then
Yeah.
what ends up happening is you overcompensate, you overwork, and guess what? Going back to the financial conversation of equity, if you don't receive that payment as well, you're actually like, you're not being compensated equally in comparison to other staff members. So yeah, the sick day conversation is really important and interesting. I know that there's been recent talks about, your GP cannot sign you off sick anymore in terms of work.
Don't get me
And that
started.
was like,
But
what
my
would that,
GP knows me the most. Like,
and
not my
exactly, what would
GP.
that mean in
Mm.
practice? Like, how would that then impact the people that are originally, the people that are already experiencing marginalization, oppression? How would that then impact them in the day to day? Again, if it's not your GP, who else would be? Not everyone has access to mental health
And they're like, oh my God, you're just being like,
services.
I feel like ethnic people will like get told, especially American Asian women, like, oh, you're being traumatic. Take a
Yeah,
paracetamol, take your ibuprofen.
yeah. But
Like,
that there is something about that though, where maybe we're coming from places and cultures where this term, like, I don't even like the word resilient, but the term resilient of you have, we've come from places of war historically. We've come from places where there's been so much big things that have happened that for our families or for the elders, they would be saying, we've gone through worse, so like get through it. And the immigrant kind of, I guess, approach of work hard, the concept of like work hard, continue to work hard. Yeah, which can be helpful. Great. It can be really good. You can have a drive that will, you're driven, you can go and achieve things, but also the drive cannot take over and you're not looking after your health, overall holistic health, physically, emotionally, spiritually too. We haven't even touched on the spiritual aspect of how you feel when you're just in kind of chaos, and you're experiencing chaos maybe in your personal life and work life, and then obviously the global things that might impact some of us that are from different places around the world. So there's so many layers of impact, and how can we care for ourselves within chaos. If everything is burning around you, what do you do to regulate? How do you stay calm? How do you stay calm, regulated, and carry on with your day to day, even though there's so much happening? One thing that I did do that I think I worked in a few organizations where they would support somebody with lived experience in different contexts. It might be lived experience of the criminal justice system, or it might be lived experience of potentially violence within the community, so contextual violence. Within those contexts, when young people were coming into work, so much might have been happening for them. And I think there was always check-ins that I would do before we have to do the work. So like you were saying, in the capacity, do you have capacity for these tasks that we need to get done? Okay, you don't have capacity for this, but you might have capacity for something small, creative, that's not too much. Yeah, so it's like finding out. And then I was thinking that actually for in the context of work, if they weren't in this kind of organizational setup, we don't do that for everyday staff members.
Yeah.
But we everyday staff members in terms of context of work may be experiencing all the things that people are experiencing in terms of services. So I think there is definitely the work conversations massive because of the impacts it has. Just personally, like I've experienced racial trauma in terms of work, and some of these places have been so harmful. It's taken me so much time to rebuild probably my confidence, my ability to use my voice. So these places can physically cause harm to headaches, just like cramps, all kind of like tensions in your body, and you're physically experiencing that as well. So I think there's workplace culture and the harm that workplaces can do is massive. There's case studies of long-term chronic diseases, illnesses, death. So yeah, it's massive.
Yeah. And it's like going back, it's like, for example, like, sorry, that's my medication alarm.
That's fine.
It's like answering, like you said several things, like going back to the GP thing, and then I'll address the other things that you said. It's GP, what did we talk? Yeah. So like even my friend today, I was on FaceTime with him, and he wants to try the stop smoking thing before he goes on his trip abroad. And it said call your GP, but his GP's not allowed to be called. So he can't do the referral, so he can't stop smoking. And it's like there's always barriers after barriers after barriers, and about the GP. So I'm like, if your GP's not going to sign it, and your GP's already hard to get a hold of, how are you going to go? How are you going to get a specialist a specialist to go sign off like 7 days off work.
Mm.
And he said it's easier to get 500 grams of weed than it is to go get in contact with your GP.
I mean, the waiting times for GPs right now, the pressure on the NHS, yeah, like it is a lot. And I think, yeah, it's a lot. And I've worked with, and I've been in like medical settings, and that they're really trying their best, but it's again a systemic pressure of funding and all these things. So and that has an impact on everyone, that are using the services.
Did I say 500 grams? I was at 50. Sorry. It's like, and you're right. And I feel like it's like culturally, like, there's so much pressure
Mm,
because you don't want to be, that Asian girl that did it. Is that you
mm,
never be known as your name? Is that
yeah,
Asian? The black girl with the wig?
yeah.
Which one? Like, it's like so, and it's always so generic and so like anyway. And you're like, I don't even have a name.
Mm,
Like, how am I going to get to a place where I have a name?
hmm.
And I feel like other people are like, hi, Catherine. Like, you're not going to be like Catherine or like Timothy Chalamet's name. If I'm sure if he goes in employment, people are gonna call him Timothy Chalamet. But I don't know, Lupita
Mm,
or Shahidi. You're gonna be called, that black girl.
yeah, yeah,
And you're like, I have a name. And
yeah.
all humans have names. Even animals
Mhm.
have names.
Mm,
So if I don't have a name, what am I? I'm less than. I'm even
yeah,
less than an animal. So
yeah,
I can't afford to take these sick days. I can't afford to ask for help, even though I'm
yeah.
struggling. If it's going to take me 20 hours to do a 2 hour task, that's fine. But I can't be seen as less than
Hmm.
any more than I'm already am.
Yeah,
And it's so draining and so
yeah.
and going back and all these things are embedded in you from a very young age, I feel like. Because people are
Mm,
telling you this is how the world is. And even if they don't, the world shows you
the
that the world.
world. Yeah,
Uh,
I was gonna say the world will let you know.
yeah, it's not even a knock, it's more like a tsunami.
Yeah.
Like, oh. And it's like, how am I supposed to, like, and now thinking back, every single piece of my employment with like
Hmm.
local authority that, you know what, I'm being so specific, even without saying the name, with an organization
Hmm.
that I work for,
Hmm.
I don't care. I will move things around to say yes. I'm getting better where I'd be like, but I can't say no. You've asked
Mm,
something of me. I don't want you to go pick another person. And that
yeah.
there's an insecurity with
Yeah.
being picked, like somebody getting picked over you, or you being asked, and then somebody else gets an asked, and they get picked.
Mm,
And people are like, "Oh, well, you're just jealous," but my sense of self-worth is already being
yeah.
crushed by organization from I feel like from birth, from school, from the NHS.
Mm,
It doesn't even have to be the NHS, the healthcare services in general.
yeah.
And it's like, what isn't the way that I'm reacting normal to the things I've been exposed to?
Hmm.
And it's
Hmm.
like, and I'm trying to prove these people wrong, but at what expense? At my expense. And it's always going to
Yeah.
be my expense because these people don't care.
Yeah.
And going back to talking about like employees and stuff like that, your own organization,
Hmm.
it made me so happy when my staff are like, Recently, I cannot work for 4 months. They tell me, they don't ask me, but they're letting me know in a way to ask me for permission. But they're like, listen, I understand. They don't even start with, listen, I understand if, our contract like ends or our work together ends, but I need a few months off to do education, to do my exams. And I'm like, go for it. I don't care. Good
Yeah.
luck fixing exams. This this role is going to be waiting for you when you come back.
But do you think that, and I think that's amazing and that's really powerful to be able to offer that. But in the structure of organizations, that's not always possible.
Yeah.
But is there more that people can be that could be done? So if they're not able to say, well, your role will be waiting for you because they have to fill the role and fill up the space to get things done, is there more? I guess it's to do with the leadership team. And I think I've worked in some spaces where I've had incredible managers that have been like off you go. Even if I was moving away, they were like, it's okay, like you need to move on and progress, or you need to move on because you found something that you're really passionate about. And then I've had, like we were saying, the conversation around micromanagement. I've had managers that have been micromanaging me that just it was not healthy and it wasn't great for my mental health. So I've had a mixture of organizations, workplaces and workspaces. But in your yeah, what could be done to make sure that, yeah, what can be done from a senior leadership team, from the leaders that have the power within organizations to really support people to progress, even if that means progression is outside of the organization they're in. I think that's something that I've come across quite a bit as well.
Okay, so I have paid staff and I have voluntary staff. Majority of my staff
Okay.
are volunteers,
Yeah.
and they put in their 10 hours a week or whatever. And if they're like, I need to leave, or they're
Hmm.
like, I can't do education and this, and I'm like, what is your priority right now? Is it the organization? No, it's not, because you come to a place where you're like questioning what to choose. You know
Mm.
what you want, and it's not this organization, and that's fine. If this means you need to focus on paid employment more or your
Hmm.
education, that's fine, because you need to do what you need to do to survive. And what
Hmm.
I do as a senior leadership, which I don't think many organizations can afford to do, whether it's financially or just physically,
Structurally. Yeah.
yeah, that's the best term, structurally, is I hire multiple people that have the same
Mm.
role. So
Okay.
if one is not available, I have four other people to depend on.
Okay.
So it's nobody feels less than, nobody
Hmm.
feels they can't take time off if they need to, because
Hmm.
I understand that that is important,
Hmm.
because work is not who you are. Work
Yeah.
is a part of you.
Yeah.
And I am, if you have opportunities better than my organization, you will
Hmm.
have, you need to take that,
Hmm.
because you're going to regret. If you want it, you should take it, because you're going to regret it. And
Hmm.
because even when you're working with my organization, you're gonna be like, if I took that role, what would I be doing right now?
Hmm.
What would I do? And be like, that's fine. You
Yeah.
know what? Is we've built a relationship.
Yeah.
Like if you were working for me, I'll be like, look, we built a relationship.
Yeah.
We've Our relationship is still going to continue, but in a different capacity.
Hmm.
But your work here is done.
Mm.
You you need to do this for yourself.
Yeah. And the word relationship is really important. I've worked in, I don't know how you feel, but I've worked in spaces where naturally when you spend a lot of time with people, you do build a relationship, right? In the context of
Yeah.
work. And then over the years, I'm now a freelancer, and sometimes I move around different organizations a lot. So you don't always have I have good relationships in terms of the context of work, but sometimes those relationships don't cross over to my personal life. So
Mm.
it's and it's okay. And I think sometimes workplaces want everyone. I don't know if you've heard this before, but if you've gone to an organization and they say, "Oh, it's not, we're not just a team, or we're not just an organization, we're a family."
Oh,
That word family to me physically is, it just does not sit well on my body when I hear that, because to me I'm like, well, families don't have money attached where they can remove you or help you progress, or it's and families can also be dysfunctional. So what you're really telling me, without telling me, is that this space is dysfunctional. And I think that word family, and in the context of workplaces, I get the sentiment of like, we care about each other, we're a great team. I just don't
the
like the
word
context.
team is there. They don't need to
Yeah,
use
team is
family.
good. Team is nice. It's a nice, you could be a healthy team, you could be a close team,
I
whatever
hate
word.
the term happy family, even the
Yeah.
adjective happy, and I'm like,
Mm.
half your
Yeah.
staff don't want to work for you.
Yeah.
Like,
Um,
have you checked in with your staff?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm sure
It's
you,
interesting. It is interesting.
like, we
So,
both do, like, go contribute to other organizations.
yeah.
And do you ever be like, oh God, I can't do this full time. I can't do this even part time. Even contract. I'm like, oh, this environment is just, yeah, not it.
Mm, I'm trying to think actually. It might be people. There
Mm.
might be just some people that you interact with, or I don't know. So far, touch wood, my freelance work has been, yeah, the people that I've interacted with have been solid, if I'm honest. Like, I've had really good relationships. I've been blessed to have worked with, even on projects, the people that I've worked with as a freelancer have been just really lovely, like just genuine, and that's been really important. In terms of, I'm trying to think of like, I don't know if most of my negative experiences have been when I've been in organizations, if I'm honest. They've been when I've been employed into a space.
It's
Whereas,
not.
yeah, those spaces, and being employed, and sometimes you're employed and I've been without in every space, and any kind of organizations I have, over the years and years and years, I've challenged maybe the process, or I've seen something harmful and I've challenged why that thing happened. And I think because I've done that throughout my time in most places, I guess I don't know, maybe I see things, maybe I'm attuned to injustice, and I think that's one thing. I see something that's not right, I don't know, in one capacity or another, I've had to use my voice. And maybe I should have used my voice a bit more. I don't know, reflecting back, maybe there's been more space where I could have done
Mm.
more of that in when I was employed. But I've definitely there's moments where I've put my job on the line. I've said, I will leave right now if you carry on in the way that you're operating, because it's harmful to somebody. And that could
Mm.
be, a staff member, or it could be the structure and the way that it's being delivered is harmful to young people. And I'm like, I cannot be a part of this in
Yeah.
that way. Um, yeah.
And I feel like it's I think that's something we have in common because I feel like it's a very neurodivergent thing as well. Like
Mm,
that sense of justice or justice
yeah.
just
It's so big. Like, you carry it with you,
yeah,
right? Like, you're like, don't want to
it's like
let,
you can
yeah.
carry your it's like it's too heavy and I'm like even the I feel like with neurodivergent, even Dwayne the Rock Johnson cannot carry our one neurodivergent person's sense of
Yeah.
justice.
Yeah.
Like there's I've been in care.
Yeah.
Like this happened recently. Like and I'm like I get treated so badly like by one member of staff or anything like that, even if it's a particular member of staff. And if it's so badly, I'll bring it up right there and then.
Mm. Good for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll bring it right up in there. Even I do it even now in my adult accommodation. I'm glad I find out today I'm moving, so it's great. Um, but
Amazing.
do that. But you know what? I also feel like within myself, I feel like I have a duty. If it's so bad,
Mhm.
like even if like management gets involved and you're still being like this, I will find out who your like next employee is, and I will inform them this has happened.
Yeah.
Especially if you're gonna go continue work with vulnerable people,
Yeah.
you're not doing this. Your employee's going
Yeah.
to know, and they're gonna investigate it, and they're gonna tell me the outcome. Like,
Mm.
as in, like they don't need to disclose personal details or anything, but be like, okay, have you what outcome as in what steps have you taken to protect your vulnerable young people? It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be getting fired. Some places will go to that because the allegations that
Of
I
course. They have
make
to.
it so
Yeah.
serious. But I'm
Yeah.
like, if you're gonna keep someone, what are you gonna do to safeguard your thing, your young people, your children?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you're a school,
Yeah.
you're there more than their primary caregivers are with them. And if you are an organization, their primary caregivers, social services or whomever has trusted them to be within your care and to
Hmm.
benefit from the work that you provide.
Hmm.
And I think if there's something that and you know what like the inability, a lot of people be like, I've been told by a white employer, a not employer, employee, like a fellow employee. It's always you like ethnic, like she didn't say ethnic, she said "Oh, it's always you black Asian girls." And I'm like, yeah, it is us
What does that mean?
because yeah, and I in the moment I wouldn't say anything back, but I'm preparing my next argument or my next meet, and I'm gonna bring it up if I don't bring it up before then. And
But
I'm
that's a
like,
microaggression right there. And I think
mm,
these are like passing comments. We say micro, but the damage and how
is
many of these
micro.
we experience on a day to day are it's massive. So the
Yeah.
impact of it is massive.
Mm. It's like sometimes, and then it gets to a point where you're like, well, people don't respect that you are from a minority ethnic background, and then you're like this happened yesterday, and I asked a member of staff that works with me, am I brown enough?
Hmm.
And I just had this whole identity crisis in my head, and I'm like,
Mm.
what's going on? Am I brown enough physically? Because I'm being compared to a white girl. Am I brown girl enough, like in my
Mm.
like in cultural practices?
Mm.
And I'm like, am I, what am I?
Mm.
And this is an example, like you said, of the impact of a harmful environment.
Yeah. And
It's like,
it's a deep question. Like, who
mm,
am I and where do I fit in? And not necessarily that we have to fit into spaces, but there is. So, for example, when newly arrived communities arrive, the expectation is that they assimilate. They come into a culture and they have to embody the culture that they're in.
mm,
And a lot of the times, what happens is when you do that, and yeah, myself included, I've assimilated, we're all here, we're all in the diaspora. But what happens sometimes is that to assimilate, there needs to be a push in away of something to now bring something forward, right? And sometimes what happens is the more we push away our cultural practices, like you were saying, our cultural etiquettes, the way that we might interact and engage and all those things that we do from a cultural lens, the more we push that side away and the more we're trying to be pulled into the context that we're in, the Western culture, um, we do have like a cognitive dissonance. We're in a place of like,
where am I?
I'm black, for example, I'm black and I'm British, but then I'm two of these in one. And what does that mean? And the layers and the unraveling of that is such a
Yeah.
deep process. So yeah, it is. Yeah, I think for for me, I found that finding community and spaces where I can have lots of different types of conversations from a, from an anti-oppressive lens, from a lens of understanding the world, what's going on, from a place of healing. I go to lots of like healing spaces or conversations around, some of them might be therapists, but they're doing things from a more African-centered lens, or they're doing things more from an indigenous lens that uses different ways of being and different ways of bringing the healing conversation in. I think those spaces are really, I feel like my cup is being filled, like just poured into, like it really feels different. And then obviously you come back out and you're like back in the real world.
And
But
it's
all those,
overwhelming.
it
That
is overwhelming.
transition.
The transition is. So it's finding those pockets of me, whatever me
Mhm.
looks like for you, if that makes sense. So finding those pockets of who you are, where you feel like you can just be and exist.
Yeah.
And I say that from a place of us navigating on a day-to-day. We're hyper vigilant, we're aware of everything all the time because of our identities in whatever way we present,
Yeah.
and the different intersectionalities we have. So within those day-to-day interactions, yeah, the comments, the microaggressions, it might be a look, it might be it was just, yeah, I'll give you an example. I had a photo shoot for my birthday, and it was meant to be a really nice photo shoot, like my sister got it for me. So she's like, oh, have a photo shoot just to like tap into your feminine energy, and like, you can dress up, and you can bring lingerie if you want. She gave me all these options, and I was like, it was a surprise. So I was like, oh my God, I've got a photo shoot. They were going to do my hair, my makeup, everything was going to get done. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm gonna do this
Getting
thing. It's gonna be
pampered.
like, yeah, I'm gonna get pampered. I'm gonna have a good time. I get to the place, everything was fine. The photographer, white male, it was so just the comments, the direction, his energy was off, completely off. And I didn't go in lingerie, and I'm really glad, because think about it from a lens of being a woman. I would be more vulnerable if I was in underwear taking photos with this man that's giving me microaggressions throughout the whole set of photos. So I was just in dresses and stuff, but his sense of he was like directing me. He was abrupt. His energy was off. His tone of voice. And I think there was a point where he said to me, right hand, left hand, and he was just saying all these directions. And then from a place of, I don't know which one's my left and my right, it takes me a while to process. So even from a neurodivergent lens, I said to him, hold on a minute, I'm dyslexic. Can you just slow down? I don't know what foot or what arm and how you want me to be. Again, that
And
was
barking at
dismissed.
you like a dog.
Yeah, it was like boom, 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 boom. It was just very, anyway, that was such a harmful experience when I was meant to be like in this joyful, the person, anyway, it did get rectified and everything went well, but it was just, even in spaces where we pay to receive a service, restaurants, I've gone to a restaurant, a Caribbean restaurant actually, was the servers were, it's not a black owned Caribbean restaurant. It was just a restaurant.
Oh.
The server was a white woman, and it was just, the energy was off from the moment we walked in. It was like there was something about, I don't want to serve you. There was that energy of like, and I felt that for the whole, and me and my friends were like just confused, because we've been to the restaurant before and it was different servers and they were really lovely. The food was great. But it was just like, when you have to look around the room and say, what is going on? So all these kind of like microaggressions, comment stares, we get that at work, at home, on the train, on the plane, on the boat. Like it's such a big, and these microaggressions can come in different forms depending on your intersectionality, right? But they
Yeah.
are so harmful. They literally are, yeah, it can throw your whole day without, especially when you don't expect it.
Yeah. And like I feel like in like certain like people, and it depends from where, like
I've noticed this from white people. It depends like where. Not even, and it's not even in like a. I don't even think it's like a white people thing, but it's more obvious.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I feel like it was either you're white or you're black. There's no in between. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm not white, I'm not black, I'm Asian. Like, no, you're either white or you're black. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying is either I'm oppressed or I have freedom. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, and then it's like, and it's so strange because my brothers, they can pass off as being black. They're dark skinned.
Mm-hmm.
My big brother's cute, but like, sorry. Um, he's adorable. He's like 8, 9.
Oh.
Um, and it's like, and I'm like, but you're treating me both differently. I,
Mm.
we go both get treated badly, but I get treated way better.
Mm-hmm. Colorism. That's what we're really talking about here. It's the
Yeah, and
shade
I'm like,
of how you present.
mm. and is like, and also is like in Asian countries, is you're either like fair skin, like if you're dark skin, you're black, you're like
Mm-hmm.
called black. But
Mm-hmm.
in the Western world, black is seen as a race, like a group of people, not just a skin color.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I feel like there's always like, we talked about this transition. And I'll say like, for example, the word Paki, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a slur in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the things that happens in the Western
Yeah.
world, it's seen as a slur.
Yeah.
Um, and like like for example, like I was with a group of friends, and I saw this Asian person that we've been talking for a while. I've never asked where they were from in Asia, but I knew they were South Asian. I was like, "Oh, are you Paki?" And they're like, my other friends were like, "Oh, what did you say?" But
Mm.
the other Asian person was fine with it because it's not seen as a slur when it's from someone.
Someone that looks like you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's that thing where it's like you need to fit in a group. In the Western world, you need to fit in a group. You're either white, you're brown, you're black, or if you're Donald Trump, you're orange. Like you need to like fit into these groups. And I'm like, and I feel like in South Asia, even though there's like colorism,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you're either like white, like white people, or you're like
Mm-hmm.
black. It's like kadapa, which means like dark, like black.
Mm-hmm.
Kadapa means dark or black. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, but it's not seen as like a. I don't know. I don't think I'm articulating this properly.
No,
But
you are. Carry on.
it's like it's either you're like kind of and like when I was younger, I would just be like, oh, I'm black because I directly translated it from,
From
and they're
yeah.
like, you're not, and I'm like, no, 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 I am black. I used to go around when I was younger saying that I was black because it like kind of is like it just means like that. And I was
Yeah.
like, and then I realized everything is split, and I was like, why does it have to be one or the other?
Mm.
Why can't? And I feel like it's just I feel like I lost confidence in anything I was saying. I don't feel like I know what I've said in my head, but I don't know how to articulate it. I have
No,
no
you've
idea.
articulated it. So for me, from what you said that was really powerful is the concept of language and what language means in different places and contexts. So words that we use here and words that's used back home, wherever back home is in the world. So that there's so many words that people connect with and people don't connect with. So for example, when we're having these conversations, some people want like a list of like what words mean, but words are interchangeable and how we identify is always interchangeable as well. Some people might, for example, I did a workshop, I did a project, and it was for anyone that is of African, Caribbean, or indigenously Black. That was like, and even within that, when people, and I've always, when on the sign up form, I gave them a space to identify as they want in terms of their own identity and their cultural heritage. Honestly, I think I had another 10 more words that came up. So even on the concept of blackness, some people preferred I'm African, some people preferred I'm Caribbean, some people preferred I'm Afro Latina or Latinx, some people preferred like there were so many layers of how they identified and what that meant to them. But under the umbrella, I was doing a project for Black people globally. So it was so interesting because everyone has words that they connect with and the words that they don't connect with.
Yeah.
So and language in itself is powerful, but because like you were saying, like native language, language that's not English, it has so many like layers and words. I think even like Arabic, there's like different words for black in Arabic. I don't speak Arabic, so I'm not a native Arabic speaker, but from being around people that speak Arabic, there's like a few words that mean black, but there's words that mean black, but also interchangeable to slave. So then if you're, like there's so many which is a derogatory term, but it might be very common to be used to use that word in the context of speak like different spaces. So I don't know. It's so layered, the language conversation,
It's made
especially from a global lens.
derogatory by the product of its environment, if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
the intention as well, the intention.
Yeah.
And the positionality of the person. Now we're going really deep, but the positionality of the person that's saying it. So for example, in the context of two South Asian people, when you use the word, it was received. It was received and it wasn't seen as anything more. If it was somebody else that said it, and that somebody else could be anyone really that is just not South Asian, that could be seen as a I guess a racist comment. Yeah, racist derogatory term. So
and it's like having that respect is like, and I feel like color is such a spectrum, but I feel like the Western world thrives more on identifying people. I feel like people in the Western world will think twice about inviting somebody in their own home, depending on their race, ethnicity. Whereas if you go back home, I don't care who you are, you could be like a burglar, be like, come in. Like it's you get treated really, really well.
Yeah.
And it's like, why does race matter so much in this in the Western world? Yeah, because of historical context, but it's you're telling me to fit into this box, but I'm not in this box. Even if you go down to as simple as identifying as British Asian on a GP form or healthcare form or whatever it may be. Nope. And I'm not other either. It's like
the other one, like, everyone like they don't like. Yeah, I've got friends that just don't feel Latin friends as well that are like I'm not. I don't fit into the box of where I am. They have to tick other, or they have to tick depending on where they're from in terms of South America. They always find that one of the struggles. Even like Turkish, that's not explicitly written. It's literally like white other, and then some people are no, I'm not white, I'm Turkish, or I'm like there's so many nuances and areas and like identifying in terms of where culturally it's the forms don't do it justice at all.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm like I identify as a British Sri Lankan Tamil.
Okay.
Whereas my brothers probably identify as British Asian. I haven't spoken to them like about this, but or like, and it's so different because I'm like, I understand. I am proud to be a Tamil person.
Yes.
I'm from a country of genocide.
Yeah.
Which ended not that long ago. Is as old as my other brother.
Yeah.
And he's still a teenager. Like, this is who I am and I'm proud of it. But doesn't mean that I'm less Asian or like if you go to America, right?
Yeah.
Never just met American people. They're like, you're not Asian. because they're perceiving Asians to be Southeast Asians.
Yes, that is so true. That is, I was in America, and that is so interesting how they perceive the world. It's different. There's nuance between British, how we view things here in Britain, in the UK, and then how Americans see the world. There is a difference.
Maybe it's the world versus America. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, there's somebody thought I was Australian because I just sounded different. They were like, "You're from Australia?" And I was like, "No."
no, I've been told like my hair texture changes a lot. But I've been asked if I'm from Trinidad, and I'm like,
Mm,
maybe ages ago, not right now. Like I'm like, no, but I get, and then Portuguese. Once they see there's something
yes.
different, I feel like I don't like from your appearance.
Mhm.
I don't know if this is rude. Correct me if I'm rude.
You're fine.
Like like depending on what angle your face is, you
Yeah.
look Arab, you look Asian, you look
Mm,
black. But I feel
yeah.
like people in the UK will default to black just because of your
Mm.
skin. But depending on where you look, it's
It's so
completely different.
interesting. It's so interesting you say that because I remember I was in East London. So depending on my hair as well, I think my hair is a massive one. My hair was like straight, proper dead straight. I was sitting down on the train. I was in East London. A South Asian man sat next to me, and he looked at me and he was like, "Are you Indian or Pakistan?" And I was like, "No, no, 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 like I'm not." And but it is like I went to my friend's birthday, and like she's Indian. Everyone, all her friends are Indian as well. So I just came in, blended in, and they were like, "Oh, are you half Indian at least? Are you?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." So it's so interesting. Like I've definitely gotten Asian, I've gotten Brazilian, or I've just gotten like the world. It's so hard. Some people don't. Arab, definitely Morocco. I've been like people have said I blended in the Morocco, Dominican Republic. I blended in so much.
I feel like it's like I feel like your face, everybody's face, and is so different. But I feel like hair plays like a very
Yeah,
much of a big factor.
yeah, it's
People think
true.
I'm Hispanic, and then they're
Mhm.
like, my hair's like it goes like 5C, like
Okay,
naturally, depending on the
yeah,
weather.
yeah,
But my hair majority of the time is straight or at least
yes.
wavy. But then they were like, Trinidad,
They get confused, yeah.
and I feel like it's. I feel like sometimes God is like, like picking out like a like blindfolded, be like, oh yeah, that could work. That could work.
Yeah.
That could, because it's so. But we're all. I feel like ethnic people who all came from one place and then just spread it out.
Do you think there's like I guess do you think being racially ambiguous of people not knowing exactly where you're from, I don't know, some people like that they look wherever they're from and some people don't like it. So it's just interesting to like hear,
I
yeah,
don't like being
like
called Indian.
you don't, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's where I don't mind if you say I look white. I feel like it's that thing with it's like Ghanaians being called Nigerians.
Yeah,
Because you're
yeah,
so close together,
yeah,
don't just group me up to the most common country in that continent
yeah,
because because
it's all there.
I feel like it's like Indian people wouldn't like to be called Pakistani. Just because we're
Yeah,
close together doesn't mean we all look alike.
yeah.
And we all
And
do.
probably the historical context plays a massive part too. My
Yeah.
friend is Bangladeshi, and we were on holiday, and she's a very calm, chilled person. I've never really seen her react. So we were on where were we? Denmark. We were in Denmark, and we were in a
Oh,
station, and we walked in, and there was a guy, and he was just asking about where you guys from, and we're just just chit chat with a cashier. And then he said to her, "Are you Pakistani. And she just went, I've never seen her respond like that. Her body, her language, she walked out the shop. She was mad. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? Like in my head, I'm like, we're on holiday. But the historical context for her as a Bangladeshi person to be called Pakistani, she just flipped. And in my head, in the moment, I was a bit like taken aback, but I reflected on that moment like afterwards, and it made me think about just historical trauma and how we carry it and how we can, how it plays about in our everyday life and what that feels like. And I think people feel like that sometimes in the context of East Africa, for example, Ethiopia, Eritrea. If you ask someone that's from Eritrea, because it comes from a place of like there was a civil war, right? The country separated. Eritrea is now a very small place, and a lot of people come from a place of like the trauma of losing family members, so their reaction might be like that. You get that from like different parts of the world where there's been like just probably a civil war, separation, or genocide. Like it's actually historical, but it lives in our bodies and our response and our interaction with each other. It comes up.
You don't even need to know history. I feel like even you don't even need to know historical context.
Yeah.
It's like you said, the body is built into the body. So you're like, what? No?
Yeah.
And you want nothing to do with it. It's like older Tamil people. It's really weird because these older Tamil people that I'm talking about is younger than my grandmother. But my grandmother is not like that. I feel like if an old woman is like that, I could understand. Like with a lot of prejudice about a certain group of people, I can understand. Like we have we had a genocide.
Yeah.
There's the Tamils who got killed, and so much like human rights getting broken. Like over 40,000 people dying. They played it down as 40,000, but it's way more.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, like Sinhalese who? They wouldn't even let their children be friends with Sinhalese, let alone be associated. Like I know people, not personally, but I know people who know people who would remove their children because they were in a classroom with a Sinhalese person. And I'm like, I have a Sinhalese friend. I told my grandmother about it because we were both from Sri Lanka. I've never had anybody from Sri Lanka, like in secondary school. And I was like, she's Sri Lankan, she's Sinhalese. My grandmother didn't react. She didn't care. She was like, you made a point? Great.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if a woman who's in her 80s, she says she's younger, I don't believe her. But at the same time, documenting wasn't that great back then. But like, if my grandmother who's in her 80s doesn't care, why do you care? Like, I understand all the trauma that comes, but these people are young people. You're not going to just embed it into the next generation. And be like, because you're going to start either another genocide or there's going to be a civil war. It's been classed as a civil war, but it was a genocide.
Yeah. A lot of civil wars. Yeah, the term, I think the term genocide is not always given for, I don't know, probably for political reasons when there is genocides going on. So there's a lot of genocides going on right now. Yes, all the sanctions and all the way that the media may portray things. But there's layers of the intergenerational trauma that comes from being from specific places in the world that might have had genocides, wars, anything that diseases. There's so many layers of what intergenerational trauma might look like. But if we're thinking about the next generation of children that are coming through, they've got more things happening, more things from a digital perspective as well, like just a change of AI, all the things that's happening, even the concept of, for example, if we go down the route of recruitment, in 5, 10 years, or however many years, depending on how everything moves. If the AI can say yes or no to an employee that's applying for a job, automatically what would also happen is we'll be upholding the same systemic issues, the same systemic racism, oppression that people experience in the different intersectionalities, but this time it will just be from a digital lens, because a
Yeah.
lot of AI doesn't take into account culture, doesn't take into account all the different intersectional needs. So it's interesting that like where we're at, where we're going
Mm.
from the sense of
And
social justice, but also the understanding it
yeah.
from a tech and digital world as well.
You know what? I feel like AI has the potential
Mm,
to be culturally sensitive, but AI cannot be made by AI. AI is made by humans, and the
hmm
humans that make it,
Yeah.
majority of them are white.
hmm
And you're like, if AI can only be built by human,
hmm
then it says more about the human than it does about the AI.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a really interesting point and a really important point. I went to like a LinkedIn conversation, and it was about AI, but it was mostly people from America. I think there was one person that was from the UK, and they were having conversations around creating just softwares and AI tools and just ways that are more culturally sensitive. But they were just saying, again, comes back to the finance of the money that you need. There's a black chat GPT apparently. And to finance it and to have it all up and running, it's like the cost of it is so much. But there's someone that has built a black, I haven't used it, I don't know what it looks like, or I'm not sure like how it actually works, how it operates. But there are people that are, there's a book that I bought, Dr. Is it Joy? I feel like her name is Joy. I'm not sure, but it's called Unmasking AI. Anyone can look this up on it's on Amazon, and it's really talking about AI and how it marginalizes people and what we need to do to kind of make sure that we're ahead of it as it kind of develops. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's really interesting.
But doesn't that say something? It's easier to get ahead of our AI than it is to get ahead of the way that humans think.
Mm,
And I'm
mm,
like,
yeah,
it's, it's such a multifaceted situation, which is so complex. Everything
yeah,
about life is multifaceted. From what you wear, to what you eat. And it's like people are like, this will make a sleep decision, just go in the fridge and make something. But like,
it's culture. That's what we're
culture,
really speaking about. To change culture takes it takes, it's shifting, and within the culture, the cultural change that we need, we're also speaking about financial, and I think that's the most important. If you're speaking about finance and toppling the financial structures, that's the biggest challenge and the barrier, right?
yeah,
Yeah, it is again culturally, behaviors, the way that we interact, the kind of interconnectedness, the policies, the process, all these kind of layers will influence how the infrastructures exist and how
yeah,
these services exist, how everything is. Yeah, it's a will really.
yeah,
But it is a cultural change that we're speaking about. And to change culture, it
yeah,
takes a long time.
yeah. And you know what? People are being so optimistic and be like, the world will be equal, pay will be equal by like 100 years. 100 years comes around, I can be like, I'm like 80 to 94% sure that it's not gonna happen.
Mm,
There's gonna be another barrier within a barrier within a barrier within a barrier that needs to be. The world is advancing, which is great.
mhm.
But with its advancement comes challenges. But
Yeah.
before we continue on or wrap up or whatever, I have
Mhm.
a really like burning question.
Yeah,
So when
go
I
for it.
go and write a book,
When am I going to write a book?
Yes.
Oh my God, it's so funny you asked that because I've said I'm going to write a book for so long. I don't know what or how, but you know what? Maybe this is the year. I was away for a few months and I wanted a bit of time to like have a bit, rest and think. Yeah, I've been wanting to write a book. If you know any publishers, let me know. I do want to write a book. It might be a collection of stories, it might be
Definitely. I feel
people's
like,
experiences. Like, yeah, it might be I've got ideas for children's books that I'd love to write. I've got ideas for more of like a self-help kind of, I don't really like the word self-help, but more of like an intentional, you know, story, unraveling story of something. I've got ideas of relationships and like how to survive. That kind of like how to not survive like that from like but how to like manage distance in relationships, or how to, not that I'm there or I'm an expert, but I'm really interested in relationships. And I think if you asked me, maybe I still want to do. I wanted to be a relationship counselor at a point. I really, I think relationships, intimate partner relationships, are so deep and layered. As two individuals come together, there's so many things that have happened to each of the individuals. Maybe nothing's happened, but either way, they would have differences because of their upbringing, their culture, their where they live, all the little things that shape you, in terms of shapes us in terms of humans. I really I'm interested to see how all of that individually plays out when people come together,
yeah.
whoever those people are. So, yeah, relationships I'm really interested in. Yeah, I don't know, but maybe soon. Thank you for like, how did you, why was that a burning question? Did you feel like
Because
do I look like an author? I'll take it.
we can like take a screenshot and you can use this as your you know that like about the author section that's at the back with the
Yeah.
blurb,
Yeah.
because the way that you look at things, which
Mhm.
I'm going to say it's not, you're one of the few people in the world that do this.
Hmm.
Like you don't just look at things from one perspective.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not perspectives in terms of like, oh, what how other people might think about it. You do that as
Mhm.
well, but it's more like, okay, this is culturally, this is racially, this is linguistically, this is like,
Yeah.
different parts that needs to be understood for you to get a full picture to make effective change. And I feel like
Mhm.
you do amazing work because of the way that your brain works.
Oh my God, I
In
think that is true.
uh,
Thank you. I think that is very true.
yeah,
I felt like all my work was different, but I realized it's not so different. It's all interconnected. And that is how I process. Honestly, I think about this, and then I'm like, oh, that thing connects with that and this. And if this happened, this is why this would make sense and how this, yeah. So I think it is bigger picture thinking slash connecting dots and ideas. It's definitely the way that my brain processes.
yeah.
Um,
It's there's a reason why the MI6, I think it's either the MI5 or MI6. There's a reason why they they ring fence jobs for people with dyslexia because of the way that
mm,
the brain processes things.
really, I didn't know that. That's really
Yeah.
interesting.
So God forbid, but if this career doesn't work out, you know where to go.
Okay, interesting. I don't know they ring fence. That is very interesting because I think it is a superpower, in my mind, and everyone might have different experiences of dyslexia, but in my mind, because I think so visually. So if you said
Mm.
something as you're speaking, I'm imagining when you said like my grandma, I'm coming up with my own, image of who your grandma is and your brother, and I'm seeing like I'm all of those things are so creative in my mind. So when we're thinking about ideas or problems or solutions, I'm thinking of like the pictures that come with it and how they all interconnect. So yeah, the visual mind definitely does help me when I'm seeing, I don't know, organizational problems, for example, or if I'm doing evaluation, I'm thinking about the different themes that connect with each other. or facilitation, and seeing like being able to pick up on just body language.
Yeah.
I don't know if that might be more from the trauma work that I've done for a long time, but being hyper vigilant and like picking up on small body cues. Yeah. It's all there, right?
I feel like,
That is literally
have you
that might
seen
have to be
like,
my logo, all the different connecting.
when you watch a detective film or like a police film, like when a murder or something happened and there's
Yeah.
so many lines, like this
Yeah.
string to this.
That's my
That,
brain.
yeah. You should, yeah. If you ever go
Um,
to like working like an organization just founded by you,
yeah.
maybe that could be logo.
Yeah. You know what? That is literally my brain, and that's how I process. So, yes to the logo, yes to the book. When are you writing a book? Or have you already got a book? I don't know.
Um, hmm, we might
Maybe
have
we
to.
write one together.
We could do one together. That's fine.
Yeah, why not? You're incredible. The way that you process, the way that just your ethos and how you bring things together and how you work with people, is very hard to find. So yeah,
Thank
keep
you.
doing that. It's really important. You're doing important work, and it's different because not everyone does that. And you're allowing people to come in to a workspace and be seen, heard, and looked after, and that's precious. That is very precious.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like all the work that we do is healing our inner child.
It is. It definitely
And
is. It's an interconnectedness.
yeah, and I feel like,
Yeah.
you know what? You need like a hoodie or like you need some merchandise, interconnectedness, or you know
What's
what?
the
I
word?
feel like really
Give me a
sell.
brand.
Your brand should be called. What we're really talking about is,
Dot dot dot.
yeah, because you say that quite a bit. So like we'll be like,
Yeah.
and it will connect with everything that you're doing because it's so like
Yeah.
not generic in the name, but generic in the ideas. It's not like my children's
Ideas.
curriculum is iconic. People think it's
Yeah.
just work, but it's mental
Mm,
health, neurodivergence, and whole other things.
mm.
But
Yeah.
neurodivergence is some sort of trauma. It does bring trauma.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It is all interconnected. It is. I've said that again now.
oh my God, it's like, and I feel like there's no other word that will
Mm,
be like good enough to like describe this like
mm,
journey that we're both on.
mm.
You
It's really
perfectly concluded this episode, and and you know what? This is literally going to be the podcast of the month because I
Oh,
really enjoyed this. Like I do this so often. I do it nearly every day for my podcast, and I've never had an interaction this meaningful.
thank you.
That's-
I've really enjoyed this too. 2 hours did fly by. You're right.
Yeah, I was like I started. Do you remember when I was aggressively turning my head?
Hmm.
I was like, I was starting to take, and I was like, I don't know why my body is doing this all of a sudden because
Mm.
there's no overstimulation and stuff. And I'm like, oh, it's 5:30. No, it was 4:58, and I was like, oh, it's my medication time.
Yes.
And
Did- yeah.
no, I did not take it. I would take it like when we were finished with this. And then I was
Okay.
like, what do you mean an hour has already gone?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is absolutely amazing.
Thank
And
you. This has been amazing for me too. It's been really nice just to, yeah, I'm gonna think about maybe chameleon is gonna be my logo. I feel like you're giving me branding ideas already.
yeah,
Discovering and rediscovering myself in this conversation.
the chameleon could be in the middle of the.
Oh, you know what? I need to write this down because when you land somewhere and sometimes you don't remember why or how you landed. This might be
Mm.
the landing.
Looking back on our conversation, what's the most important takeaway or message you want for our audience to remember?
I think the most important message is to reflect, and I mean that from a place of yourself. Reflect on yourself, your own actions, be accountable for your own actions, but also reflect how you interact with other people and how your behavior can either harm or support other people. So really taking in the reflective and the kind of accountability lens, I would say add the lens of well-being and care, really thinking about care for yourself in the best way that you can, in the capacity that you have to care for yourself. Those are the two things I would say is that, reflect, accountability, and care for others in the ways that you can, care for yourself. These are just things that I've learned from my own practice, working with people, but also just in my own life. I think it supports, where you want to go in your journey. It keeps you humble as well when you're being accountable and you're reflecting on your own actions, as well as pointing out and seeing other actions that might be harming other people as well.
Okay. How do you hope this episode will impact or resonate with our listeners?
I hope it resonates with people that can connect with some of the topics that we spoke about. I hope it connects with people in terms of the honesty, the conversation around how the personal impacts the structural and vice versa. And all these things they're not separate issues. These issues are not, in boxes, and they're not separate things. Everything impacts everyone in different ways. And I think it's important for people to be in solidarity with others in whatever that might look like and might mean for you. Just hoping that people can have honest conversations, and be mindful of others, and
You forgot your key word.
interconnectedness, the intersectionality is something that I'll definitely say.
Are there any upcoming events or resources you'd like to share with our audience?
I'm thinking of upcoming. So I'm a co-founder of an organization called Pivot Culture. We deliver workshops in workspaces, in organizations, corporate organizations as well. We deliver creative workshops that really think about how we create healthy, inclusive work cultures. So check us out. It's www.pivotculture.org. I'm on LinkedIn as well, so happy to connect with others that are doing work, even in different sectors. It's always good to connect with different people. And other events. I do have an event that's coming up. It will be in August, and it's mainly around bringing sectors together in Croydon. So I think I can maybe share some details when it's a bit close to the time. So those are the kind of invitations.
Perfect. And finally, what's one thing that you're grateful for today?
I guess I'm grateful for life in general, and also just being able to be able to choose things. Choice is what I'm grateful for, and I mean that from a space of personally having choice to see people that I want to see, having choice of work in terms of places and people that I want to work with. So I'm grateful to have some choice and control in my life at the moment.
As we draw to a close of today's enriching episode of My Trauma's Chronic but Am I Chronic, I'm reminded of the profound wisdom shared by our esteemed guest, Milka Fisiha. Milka, your insights into navigating the complex intersections of mental health, equity, and community well-being have truly been enlightening. So, our listeners, I hope you found as much inspiration and food for thought as I have. From the importance of fostering anti-oppressive structures to the necessity of carving out space for self-care in demanding environments, Milka has left us with a treasure trove of insights to ponder. Remember, the journey towards empowerment and well-being is not one that we embark upon alone. It's a collective effort, woven together by the threads of empathy, understanding, and resilience. As we navigate the challenges ahead, Let's heed Malika's call to action to advocate for equity, amplify marginalised voices, and cultivate spaces of healing and belonging within our community. I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to Milka Fish for gracing us with her presence and wisdom today. And to you, our cherished listeners, thank you for tuning in. Your support and engagement fuel our mission to empower and uplift voices from all walks of life. Until next time, remember to nurture your spirit, champion the causes close to your heart, and above all, be kind to yourselves and others. Together, we can create a world where every voice is heard, every story matters, and every individual thrives. Stay iconic. Until next time.